Hello everyone, welcome to Game 2 in this 1v1 series between AndreasG and Jim Bob the Mighty. Jim Bob currently has the lead in the series, 1 game, 2-0. I'm Philophanic, and joining me, hopefully for real this time, is GameSlayer. GameSlayer,
For reals it is! Yes,
what do you think
I
about
am
this map?
I've been in the game since the beginning. Yes, this is working. Woo! And prices. Bottom right-hand corner has all of the silicon. Silicon starting high, glass starting very low though, so you don't necessarily need to have that silicon immediately, but power starting high as well. Maybe you want that silicon for solar panels or something. Carbon starting high as well. So people aren't going to want necessarily to go into wind turbines straight away. But then where's all the iron?
The iron's spread out randomly in single locations, except for this line of iron in the top of the west side of the map. It's pretty awkward. Andreas decides to found
in the middle of the map.
In the middle of the map.
Taking 1,000. Then losing all the iron access because Andreas did not claim the iron, allowing Jim Bob to immediately take that scientific spot. If Andreas had just claimed one of those iron tiles, then Jim Bob would not have been able to found in that location at all, and that would have been very useful because now Jim has access to all of that silicon as a scientist, and he has access to the water, which isn't too far away. It's on the left slightly. Magnetic storms are available, however.
Right, so Andreas is definitely going to have some trouble. There is a high iron map at the edge of this cliff on the east side that he could use, but it's by itself, and then there's also this low iron map. Sorry, low iron tile. Andreas is also going for that same aluminum first, buying into his iron, which I'm not quite the biggest fan of that sort of opening. What do you think about that?
Well, currently each steel mill is losing him $48, so I'm not so happy about that either right now. He doesn't have any stockpile of iron at this moment in time, and he is not playing with auto supply turned off. So he is just losing money right now, and this might be one of the fastest games in the tournament. We'll see. Oh, he did manage to upgrade. He did manage to upgrade at least, so now he's pushed to level 2. He can actually do something out of this.
Yes, he did beat Jim Bob's a scientist to level 2. Those steel mills have finally been turned off. They were losing 54 a second before he turned them off.
Jim Bob, the only reason why he didn't manage to beat Andreas was because he was putting all of his money into this iron stockpile to keep Andreas down. So
good play by Jim Bob.
He could have. He had the potential to win, but he decided not to instead.
Jim Bob going into some silicon, deciding that he should sell that down, going into a single solar condenser to connect up the silicon and a single water pump. If Black Magic were here, he'd be proud.
Well, it's a single high, so it's much more viable, especially with water at 38 right now. Andreas as well is going into the zone high water pump. Andreas is having a lot of trouble trying to figure out what to do with his claims. He's still got one left. He's claimed a geothermal, but with only 2 steel mills, each of them still losing an absolute ton of money, by the way. It's going to be very hard to make that geothermal play happen, but he is trying to make that happen because expensive do cost less steel in total, but do you think he should just bite the bullet and grab that low iron tile next to him?
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, later on you might regret taking that low iron tile, but expansives do have extra claims, and there are private claims on the market, black market here. So it's probably a better idea, bite the bullet, take that, go into some more, make sure you have enough iron, sell down that iron. If you want to go for that geothermal, go into more steel, wait to HQ3, and then put down that geothermal vent. That's what I'd be thinking about doing if I was in Andreas' position.
Interestingly enough as well, Jim Bob did actually temporarily go into two sets of silicon quarries there in order to get enough for solar panels, which I love as an idea because power is very high right now.
Yes.
Honestly, if I was him, I would have taken even more, and then just gone full into power right now and just keep Andreas dead. If you can kill that market, Andreas is going to have a lot of trouble getting out of debt.
Right, and Jim Bob deciding that he is going to try and keep Andreas out of that market with a freeze on the geothermal plant just as it's finished constructing.
That's 100 seconds. It's a long time.
100 seconds with no power. The only thing about Jim Bob's solar panels is, well, first of all, there's two. He could put a third one down if he wanted to, like you said. And second of all, if he does go into a third with his triangle, he's only going to be able to defend one of them. Right now, the meta is to put your solar panels or wind turbines in a line, doing the middle one, so that way, the most anyone can take out with, well, I guess in this case there's only EMPs, so you could take out two of them. But anyway, one of them would be taken out a lot less than two side by side in a triangle.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at those steel mills. Like, it's saying to me net revenue is minus 72. Is that really right?
I don't know. He just got out of them. I can't really look.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's. I'm wondering if it's doing the show profit, show power as part of the profit revenue calculations. Even though I've got that turned off.
So one area that Andreas could use to get back into this game is Jim Bob is currently shipping all of his food, and it doesn't look. He has yet to manually ship them, which means they might ship in a clump, and there are magnetic storms.
Unfortunately, he decides instead to just go for the EMP, which, as a scientist, you don't care so much about because that's half the duration of.
Terra Incognita says that the negative 72 is taking into account debt. I'm assuming that means power debt.
Yes, even though I have that option turned off in the menu, whatever.
Jim Bob is also.
Okay, so I turned it on and then turned it back off again, and now we're good. Yes. Alright, perfect. Numbers! How do they work? Andreas has actually almost managed to pay off all of the debt right now with those 2 geothermals that she's got online. Jim Bob nowhere near at 51k, but of course he had a lot more debt from the beginning because he was, scientist with more power on steel. And he took some auctions that Andreas did not, especially that geothermal. And now it's a slant drilling auction. That could really help Andreas's iron situation out, but looks like Jim's taking this and going to be able to use that clump of water to just do even more now.
Right, it seems that would have been a good patent for Andreas to pick up, especially since his debt's almost paid off. He doesn't really care about getting that extra debt. Fixes his iron problem, makes going into water easier, or silicon or whatever. Just would help out his kind of odd founding location a little bit more.
I was very surprised to see that go for only 20k. I'm also very surprised at this mutiny. 120 seconds of stopping that guy's power, but it was on its way down. The market was on its way down before you even did that. You did it at like 60, and now it's $5. That feels like a waste of a mutiny. 80 seconds worth of power being at $1.
It definitely was a suboptimal use of the black market. You could have maybe hit Andreas's farms, hit at that point in time with an EMP or something like that, especially considering that Jim Bob is also in farms. Andreas decides to use a adrenaline boost on his electrolysis reactors.
Now he's consuming 4.4 water per second. Jim Bob, yes, good. The mutiny on the water pump. Buy up all of that water.
Yep, there he goes.
His day.
That is exactly what Jim Bob is deciding to do. And
Andreas manually turning off the electrolysis does not have... manually turning it back on and off and on and off, and he doesn't know what to do because of the fuel shortage going on right now, and he does not have the auto supply off when unprofitable option, whatever that's called.
Yes.
What is that called?
The auto off, or that's what I call it.
Turn off unprofitable MP. There we go. That's what we've got.
That's the setting that is useful to have on, especially if you're a newer player. It's easier to notice buildings that turn off when you don't want them to than it is buildings that are not making money.
Yeah, that electrolysis reactor was running for a good 10 seconds or so at minus 236. This has not been good for Andreas. Jim has a lot of cash and resources. He could potentially upgrade once more if he truly wanted to, but he's just going to keep harming Andreas here. But Jim is definitely off to a very strong lead.
I don't see any reason to upgrade at this point. I think I'd be tempted to try and make the buy right now. Jim Bob, I believe, almost has enough money to do that.
You need 120k. He's on 80. So Well, 76. So, you know, just another half a sol, and maybe he'll have enough to do this.
Right. Especially if Andreas decides to get the upgrade right now, which he has the resources to, but if he does click that upgrade button, that probably dooms him to losing.
Yes, that's all. All of his money is in those upgrades. So that would be he would have nothing to defend himself, and then it's
There are
his first one to get 2 stocks worth of income, basically. And Jim's got that.
$10,000 worth of food, or more than 10,000, just flew through the air with magnetic storms at 3K.
Oh, Andreas. Well, Andreas can't really afford to use the black market when it's on cooldown. You know, that's kind of the ultimate counter.
That is true. What did he use the black market for? Bribe a claim? Yes,
I think he just
did
used
a
bribe a
claim to go into an additional water pump.
Understandable. You don't necessarily think about magnetic storms. I kind of had a game earlier today where I decided not to use magnetic storms, and I got yelled at by Soren for it, and it was upsetting. But we're seeing now, Jim is going to go for the play. One thing I will mention, something that Death Tacticus, I believe, started, and I have verified is true. Jim, you should have bought 1 in yourself before you started this buy, because if you buy and sell out of yours at the same time as you're buying into your opponent's, it does not change the cooldown on the market.
Yes, and
so that's an interesting play, and he's got it.
The idea behind that, if anybody has not used that, is if you buy 1 pip in yourself, then buy in 4 or 5 into Andreas, your stock will increase, which means you can sell that stock and get that money just in case, say, your opponent's worth a little bit more before you're done with the buy, and then just make the buy a little bit easier, a little bit faster.
It really helps you get that last 20k out, because remember how I said it cost him 120k? It costed more like 135, 140 really, because as you're buying stock, the price increases. So if you just buy 1 into yourself before you do that, that does basically guarantee that it's 120k overall, because then you can sell down your own stock, which is worth more, as you've said.
In this case, Jim Bob did not need it. Andreas didn't really have any profits on World during HQ level 3. Jim Bob making sure to keep Andreas from making any money with well-timed mutinies, punishing Andreas by buying into the water after mutinying Andreas's only water tile. Just a rough game for Andreas, getting hit with black market items over and over and over.
Yeah, nothing. Well, there's a lot he could have done, but once he committed to all those claims that he did, it was going to be very hard for him to deal with just having 1 water against the scientists, with a lot of things to shut down that water on the market.
Right. Yes, Jim Bob here made 20k off of those water plays, purchasing 100 and... Let's see, how much did he actually purchase? Oh, purchased 81k worth of water to punish Andreas, so putting his money where it hurts. And we can see, just looking at the black market overview, Andreas only hit Jim Bob once versus 4 black market attacks by Jim Bob against Andreas. Couple EMPs, couple of mutinies. Jim Bob also bought a goon, 2 private claims versus Andreas. Yes, Andreas just sort of let the black market cool down, sit far too long. Part of that due to his lack of money, due to that interesting start that didn't work out very well.
It can be very difficult as well to remember to use your black market cooldown when you're an expansive or robotic, particularly, because those two tend not to have a lot of floating cash flying around. There's a lot of it stuck up in steel and stuff, and you don't want to sell down your steel because then your opponent gets a cheaper upgrade. Definitely should have thought about committing to different resources this game. I mean, look, he doesn't even have any triangles. No triangles at all.
Well, he is at level 3, to be fair.
Yes, but level 3 is still a place for 2 triangles, and you've got Bribe the Claim on the market.
True.